And so I thought, and I hesitate to say this because a lot of people are going to be upset with me, but I did take a first dose of Pfizer on October 22nd, thinking I'm not going to be able to have access to the courts. I have clients that are relying on me to be able to go to court and advocate in their behalf. And so it was a decision that I hesitated for months to make. And then when I decided I needed to do it, I just turned my brain off, to be honest, and I just went and did it. Like, I have to do this. It's a duty. And I seriously regret that, because now what's happened to me is I've lost 63% hearing in my left ear.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News, and in just a moment I'm going to be joined by Derek Fromm. Derek is one of the lawyers who is working on some of our very important FightVaccinePassports.com cases, particularly the case of firefighters and paramedics who have lost their job or are at risk of losing their job against Alberta Health Services. But I'm bringing Derek on today from a bit of a conversation about a shift that is occurring sort of broadly in society and his intakes on it for people who maybe at one time were on board with vaccine mandates, or at least thought the vaccines were part of the solution, and are maybe starting to have a change of heart. Derek, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So I just wanted to start by sort of getting your perspective on this. There has been, to a broad extent, people would consider some irrational and unscientific backing of vaccine mandates and vaccines by government officials, even when the science doesn't necessarily enforce their actions. You, fortunately, as a lawyer, lots of the evidence that you're looking at, rather than stuff that maybe people are finding on the internet that isn't vetted, lots of your information comes from within the court. So it's something that's actually been, to some extent, vetted. So if you could just share some of your perspective on some of the science or lack of science around vaccine mandates.
Natural immunity is the gold. People were willing to roll up their sleeves just to get their lives back. Yeah. I haven't talked to anyone personally. Now, mind you, I deal with select people. Yeah. I haven't talked to anyone personally that was like, I want to rush out and stick things in my body that I don't understand. Yeah. I haven't met anyone like that. I've talked to many AHS employees, nurses, doctors, other individuals who just said, I have a family to feed, I have a mortgage and a pension, and I have to get on with my life. And if this is what it takes, I did the risk analysis, and COVID's not a risk for me, and it looks like the vaccine's not a risk for me. So they roll up their sleeves and they do that. Now, I think the one part of the risk analysis that people often ignore is that up until Omicron, at least, it wasn't convincing to me that all of us were going to get sick from SARS-CoV-2. It was raging through Alberta with a pandemic for many months, and I think by the end of the summer anyway, only 7% of Albertans had actually tested positive. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't clear to me that we were all going to get sick from it. But if you intentionally inject your body with something, you're increasing your likelihood of running the risk to 100%. Mm-hmm. So the risks from COVID were not only limited in, like, if you acquire the infection, what are your risks? You may not ever acquire the infection, but the risk from being vaccinated was 100% if you actually took the risk. So I ran that analysis myself, and I'm a healthy guy. I've never had any health problems other than sports injuries. Yeah. And so I thought, and I hesitate to say this because a lot of people are going to be upset with me, but I did take a first dose of Pfizer on October 22nd, thinking I'm not going to be able to have access to the courts. I have clients that are relying on me to be able to go to court and advocate in their behalf. And so it was a decision that I hesitated for months to make. And then when I decided I needed to do it, I just turned my brain off, to be honest, and I just went and did it. Like, I have to do this. It's a duty. And I seriously regret that, because now what's happened to me is I've lost 63% hearing in my left ear. And of course, just because one event follows another in time does not equal causation. Just like one billiard ball slamming into another billiard ball, causation's hard to prove. All we have is the conjunction of two events. Mm-hmm. But I'm very reliant on my ears. I'm very familiar with what my ears can do, and I know that something changed after that vaccination within about 2 weeks.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but YouTube doesn't want you seeing all of this content. If you want to see the full video, you're going to have to go to rebelnews.com, or as always, you can click the link in the description below.